Hi guys, my name is Jazmin. I'm Waldo's youngest sister. Recently I started following. I want to cry already. Recently I started following. I started following God. It has definitely been really difficult for me. A lot of things have happened in my life that have gotten me to where I am at this point today. I'm extremely thankful for the opportunity to be here right now and to share everything that I'm going to share to you guys. From a young age, we grew up in church. Obviously, most families do grow up in church. Some don't, but we were blessed that we were grown up in church. I went to church when I was really young, and then after a little while, we didn't go to church as often for a couple years. And then when we reattended church, it was during my early years of high school. So since my freshman year of high school, I've been going to church. And even though I've been in the house of the Lord, I haven't really been pursuing God the way that I was called to. Yeah. And recently, this last year, it has been one of the most difficult years of my life. And I have went through the most I would have never expected to go through. And I believe that sometimes you can suffer even in ways that aren't actually hurtful. You can suffer through things that are just mental, and they can impact you and impact the way that you behave and the way you interact with others. And at least for me, I feel like my mental health was really ruined for a while. Even though I didn't show it, I was crying a lot, like almost every night. And it was hard for me to overcome it because I kept looking for outlets of other things that could fulfill that void that I had in my heart. And a lot of times I would just turn to guys, and I just wanted a relationship. I wanted to feel loved. And I realized at a young age the reason I looked so much for love was because I didn't have that much, I didn't feel that much love from, I wouldn't say like my parents exactly, but they weren't the biggest, role models in that aspect, and they had troubles of their own, so sometimes it was hard for them to show me that love that I needed. And I feel like I look for outlets, in relationships, and even in friendships, and many of my family can tell you that I had some of the worst friends for years, and I knew they were bad for me, and I knew they were bad friends, but I was so scared of being alone, and that feeling of loneliness is something that I was most terrified of. So I definitely looked for outlets and other things, and I realized that I tend to look back at my past a lot, and that was something that was haunting me, and I didn't even realize it. I didn't even realize people would tell me, if that's in your past, don't go back to it. And I didn't understand. I was like, what is so bad about looking back? What is so bad about giving somebody another chance? What's the purpose of not looking back? I didn't understand that. And I wanted to read you guys this quote from the Bible that I recently read the other day because I was still going through some stuff, even with my past relationships, and I kind of wanted to look back and find outlets to go back to those people. And one of the days that I had to make a decision if I wanted to go to a party, and I knew somebody from my past was going to be there, and I kept questioning if it was the right decision to go to that party or stay home. And all my friends obviously were going to tell me go to that party, it's going to be fun, just have fun with it, it's not a big deal. But something in my heart just told me that it wasn't right. And I remember that same day, I asked God for confirmation, let me know, if this is the right or wrong thing. And that same day, I woke up and I read on my Bible app, and it says here in Isaiah 43:18, remember not the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth, do not perceive it. I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. And to me, that just that just spoke to me really, really deeply, because it made me realize that I was dwelling so much on the past that I wasn't trusting God and believing that He had more for me. He has more doors that are going to be continuing to open. And as of right now, I've been really focused on my relationship with God. That I haven't even turned back. And I know there's a story in the Bible, Lot's wife, and she turned back and she turned into a pillar of salt. And it's just crazy because that analogy is very true, because I've done some reading and watched some videos, and they basically say how the idea of her turning into a pillar of salt is the same type of reaction you would receive if you were to go back to your past and go back to somebody that hurt you. Because in the same way she turned into a pillar of salt, you cry tears from hurt of other people, and tears are very similar to like the feeling of like salt. The expression is very similar, is my point. But I also wanted to add some more here. So I got a couple verses here. I feel like that really helped my message here. So right here in Proverbs 3:5, it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your pathway. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil. It will be healing to your flesh and refreshment to your bones." And just reading that scripture, I feel like I can even add more to what I've already mentioned. I used to not really understand like the big purpose of pursuing God. Like, I grew up around a lot of people that were Christians and a lot of believers in my family, and even my brother specifically. He's been a really great role model for me, and my sister-in-law, she's been a really great role model. Thank you. And my mom has also been a very big believer in Christ. But even then, you would think that growing up in such a big Christian household that it would impact your faith and you would believe more. But sometimes you have to find that on your own. And I wish I could tell everybody in my life right now how peaceful this life feels and how renewing it is, because I feel like I found myself in a way I've never ever found before. And the happiness that I feel like waking up every day, it's like at first when I wanted to have a relationship with God, it felt like I wanted to do it, but I wanted to do it for other people and not for myself. I wanted to be this godly person, so I had the image of this girl who believes in God, but I didn't want to put in the work. And I realized that what you do, it's only affecting you. So if you're reading and you're getting into your word every night or every morning, if you're praying, if you're doing stuff for yourself, it's only affecting you. It's not going to affect anybody around you. So ultimately, what you pour into yourself is what you get out of it. And even then, like, some people might think, oh, like, nobody's going to notice. Everybody notices. Like, I've had so many people that I'm close with, or people I'm not even that close with, they come up to me and they're just like, "Jazmin, you look so different. Like, you look so refreshed. You look so light, and I can see it." And I was actually talking to one of my closest friends last week, and I was telling her about my journey with God lately, and I was just, telling her how difficult it's been, but what I've been doing to grow in my faith. And the whole time I was telling her how the things that I struggled with the most with my relationship with God was just starting, because it was this constant battle of, I want to read that Bible, I want to pick it up, but it was more like, I'm too busy right now, I'll do it tomorrow. And then the day comes and I'm just like, I don't feel like it, I'll do it tomorrow. I'm too tired, I'll do it tomorrow. And I had a good friend of mine, his name is Isaac, and I believe that he really helped me with my faith in Christ, because he was the first person in my life that really encouraged that on me. And not only did he encourage it, but whenever I made mistakes and I continued to sin, he let me know what I was doing, and he told me how it was wrong. And like, he made me feel convicted, you know? Like, I already feel convicted on my own, and whenever I would tell him I feel bad for what I did, and he was like, you know what that's called, right? And I was like, no, I don't know. He's like, that's conviction from God. And I had to learn that on my own because, like, I did not want to listen. There was a lot of stuff he tried to teach me and a lot of stuff, you know, he tried to show me, and, like, I just didn't really want to listen to him. I really wanted to do things on my own. And he even told me, like, if you want to pursue a real relationship with God, you can't just, you know, go to church every Sunday and think, like, all of a sudden you're a woman of God. You have to pursue that relationship. You have to get in your word and know God and build that relationship with him. And then it took a while. I'm not going to, like, lie and say, like, after he said that to me, it was just, like, easy from there. It really wasn't. But I think what helped, like, as bad as it sounds, I had to fail so many times on my own. Like, I had to have the struggles come to me, like, consistently. Like, I would do the wrong thing, and I would receive the punishment for it. I was the one crying. I was the one getting sad. I was the one confused. My heart was full of anxiety, and I just didn't know what to do. And it got to that point where it literally directed me to God. I had no other outlet. And a lot of people will say, like, you know, oh, like, you could have a best friend or you could have a relationship and that will fulfill you in every single aspect and you'll feel, you know, loved and all that. And to be honest, what I've learned is a lot of that is temporary. If God is not in the center, it's not going to work out. And I had to learn that on my own as well, because when I had that friendship with Isaac, we were just friends, but he always wanted to put God in the middle. And I didn't understand what that meant and, you know, the reasoning behind it. But now I understand, because if you guys don't have the same love for God, you're unequally yoked. And a relationship like that will ultimately just fail. And honestly, the biggest reference I could have is, you know, my parents. And I still pray for them, and I still pray that things get better for them. But if they're not walking with Christ, it's going to be difficult to renew that relationship. And I do strongly believe that God is the only way to hold a relationship together, and even a marriage. Like, you need God in the center. And of all things, even friendships. Back to what I was saying about my best friend. I was talking to her last week about my growth in my faith and my relationship with God, and she was telling me, like, Jazmin, like, you know, I really want to grow my relationship with God too. Like, she's like, I look up to you so much, and, you know, everything that you've been doing for yourself, but I don't know where to get started. And I said, that's your issue. You just need to start. And I said, I remember for months, I got a Bible in December. And I remember the reason why I bought a Bible was because it was during Black Friday. It was the time I could afford it. And I knew I wanted to get a Bible, but, like, I wanted to buy it on my own. I wanted it to feel like something I did for myself. And I bought it in December, and I looked at it, but I didn't know where to even start. Like, that was my thing. I didn't know where in the Bible to even read. I'm like, it's this big book. You read it from front to back, it really doesn't make sense. And I started watching videos so I could get the hang of it and understand, like, how do I do this, you know? So I started watching videos on YouTube, and I found a lot of great YouTubers that are, like, Christians, and they share a lot of good testimonies, and, you know, they're very inspiring. But they said the best way to read the Bible is to start with certain chapters. So, for instance, like, I believe it's John, Matthew, and Luke, like 4 of those or something like that. You start with the Gospels, and then from there you can move on. And like I said, I didn't know much about where I was reading or, like, what I was getting myself into. But I was like, I just need to start. Like, I need to start somewhere. So I opened my Bible, and then I started reading in John. And I would say that was around maybe like early January I started. And then from there it was kind of like, you know, back and forth. Like, it took me a little while. And then by right before Easter, I finished John. I think it was like 20, 21 chapters, somewhere around there. And I still remember the last chapter I read from John was the lesson we had at church that same day. And to me, it was just so like crazy because I was like, wow, like I just finished reading John, and what I just learned, I'm getting retaught at church. And I remember that day, like it kind of touched me because it just felt like, really powerful on me. And I want to share another verse with you guys. Where is it? I think it's over here. Okay. So this is from John 12 through 17. It says, when he had washed their feet and put on his outer garments and resumed his place, he said unto them, do you understand what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for I am. If I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should do just as I have done for you. Truly, truly, I say to you, servant is not greater than his master, nor is the messenger greater than the one who sent him. And to me, the way this speaks to me is, it tells me that I need to spread the gospel. And if God is teaching me and showing me these things, and I'm learning through Him, I need to also provide that information to other people and my friends, and let them know like who He is. Because if He's doing all this good for me and He's showing me all these things, then I need to be doing just as much for others. And I feel that heavily with some of my friends at school, because some of my friends, they'll talk to me and tell me like their boy problems or what they're going through. And it's normal. I feel like it's normal, everybody goes through stuff in relationships. But I've gotten to the point in my relationship with God that I realized that you really don't need to have a relationship with other people to feel happiness. Like, truly, you only need a relationship with God, because a lot of the times I have, branched out to like people and, try to find love through all these other mechanisms and stuff. And I realized that the relationship I have grown with Christ has made me like feel so happy and so fulfilled. And not only that, like, have I grown my relationship with Him, I feel like I've grown as a person, and I feel like I've matured in a way, and like I could look at myself in the mirror and be like, wow, like I look, like I love myself, I love the way that I am. I love the way that I'm treating people. I love the way I feel more open to this person I'm growing into. And I'm going to be in my last year of high school next year. And to me, I just feel like that's when I need to start really getting it together and really like telling myself where do I want to be in life? What kind of person do I want to be? And, for the longest time, I wanted to be a good person. And my friend Isaac also shared this to me, because I always felt like being a good person was enough. It's good to be a good person, don't get me wrong. But you also have to be a believer in Christ, and you have to walk in His ways. Being a good person is not enough. And I always thought that was my mindset, just being good was enough. But no, that's not what God says. And I remember I wasn't even really a good person because I kept doing the same things. I was saying sorry and doing, these messed up things, and a lot of the times it was just hurting me. It was like I would think like, oh, like, I'll just say sorry and I'll try to work on it. And the thing is that if you want to grow as a person, you have to make those changes within yourself. You can't just say you're going to change and say you're going to grow, because then you're just manipulating that person. But that's the type of person I have grown from, and that's the person I don't want to be. I thought that's who I was. I thought, just living the life of continuing my mistakes over and over was going to get me somewhere, but I realized it's not. And, I really I do want to pursue my relationship with God. And I might get a little bit emotional, like, speaking about the reason why, but to me it's very important. Like, when I have meetings at my school for our Christian club, we have talks about, like, our faith and why we want to pursue our relationship with God, or what got us to where we're at. And one of the questions my group leader asked was, what is making you want that relationship with God? And I said, the thing that makes me want that relationship with God is knowing that no matter where I turn to, I'm always going to go back. I'm always going to go back to God. And I've realized that so many times, because when I genuinely first started, trying to look for God was when I was going through, the most difficult times of my life, and it was probably last year. And when I first started, it was actually amazing. I loved it. I remember starting to see all these Bible verses and man, these are powerful. These have something in them, And then I just kind of fell off because I was going towards the world. I had to leave my old best friends because they weren't treating me well. And I was so sad about it. I didn't want to break off that friendship I had with them. I mean, I was friends with these people since elementary school. I didn't want to break off that friendship, but they were not good friends. They weren't. And it was going to take me years till I finally realized that, but I did. And I remember the reason I stopped being friends with them was because I told them I really I want to work on being a better person. And they told me, well, hanging around with us, you're not. And I remember that was what all it took for me to realize those were not the people I wanted to surround myself with. And I remember it took me a little while, but I finally stepped back. I didn't say anything. I didn't tell them what they did wrong. I just cut off all communication. And I think today it's actually going to be 1 year since I ever talked to them. And, I feel really proud of myself for that, because, I never would have thought I could have cut off ties with somebody and in a peaceful manner, no drama, no issues, no problems. And when I took that step back, I also took another step back because I thought I found another better set of friends, but I didn't. I remember during the summer, having those group of friends, I always thought they were my good best friends, and I had to realize it late that they were not good friends. They were leading me closer to the things of the world, and the only thing they were doing was pushing me away from my faith. I remember I wanted to be healthier. I wanted to work out around that time, and I wanted a relationship with God. But these people, they didn't care for any of that. And as a matter of fact, they they just wanted to party. They just wanted to do whatever, hang around the fun people that just drink and smoke. They wanted to do those things. And I just wanted friends, So for me, I was like, okay, it's either I'm by myself or I hang out with the wrong people. And I knew in my heart they were not, my friends. But I wanted to feel loved by people, And I remember during the summer, when I thought they were my friends, and then they introduced me to Isaac, my friend, and they were the ones who encouraged us, to go out together, be a thing. It wasn't until months later I found out they were actually telling him bad stuff about me and lies, and making me sound really bad, and I never knew. And ultimately, I cut them off as friends. I just, stopped including myself around them. And I realized that the reason that God did that was not because I was meant, to lose those friends. It was more because He wanted me to find somebody who was going to help me in my relationship with Christ. And, Isaac was that person for me. Because even though they were of the world, they wanted to do their worldly things, he wasn't like that. And he told me, I knew every bad thing they said about you, and I still chose to see you for who you were. And I remember, he really helped grow my relationship with God. And I think he was the first person I've ever, been friends with that actually showed me who God was, and he encouraged me even to come to these Bible studies. It's not his brother that leads them, it's mine. and he was the one telling me to come over here. And I felt like that was something very encouraging and very uplifting for me, because it took me months, but it got me to where I am right now. And I just want to say, like sometimes you might feel like a sense of loneliness, and like I still feel that way sometimes. And like if sometimes like when you're in school or whatever, you see like all these other couples around you, and they're in relationships and they look happy, and you're just like, I want that. I want a relationship like that. I want to feel loved like that. But a lot of the times, most people don't truly feel love. Like you'll feel like this sense of happiness, but if that person isn't a godly man or a godly woman, you're not gonna feel the full love of God, because he's the only person that can bring that to you. And what I was gonna mention earlier, I got a little bit sidetracked, but one of the reasons why I'm so serious about pursuing my relationship with God is because one thing I really dream about for my future is to be married, to have kids and have a home. But I really want my kids to know what God's love is. And I don't want them to have, I want them to have a boring testimony. And I want them to see, what God's love really looks like. And I don't want them to feel, the feelings I felt at home. I don't want them to feel confused. And I don't want them to feel anxiety and sadness and, like those feelings of confusion, you don't even understand what love really is anymore. Because I feel like in this world, a lot of people have painted this different idea of what love is. Like, sometimes you'll go around asking people, like, oh, like, what is your idea of love? And people will just tell you, like, oh, somebody who buys me things, somebody who hugs me, gives me kisses, like, stuff like that. Like, people's ideas of love is really, really messed up. Like, people don't really know what true love is. And I truly believe that God is love. And honestly, nothing else will fill that void inside of you, like that feeling of sadness or depression or loneliness or confusion. Like other people, they can help, but it's very temporary. It's not something that's going to last you for a long time. And I just want to say this right now, since I'm already here, obviously. If you feel like you want a relationship with God, but you don't really understand like the purpose of it or even the point of it, my suggestion would be to just start reading the Bible. Just start from like John or Matthew. Just read, and you'll see what He's done in the works. And it might take time, but the thing is that if you really want to get closer to God, you have to make that a commitment. Like for me, at first, I didn't really want to read the Bible just because I'm not a big reader. And for me, that was something that I felt like I couldn't achieve just because I don't really like reading. But I told myself, if I don't start, then I'm never going to pick up the Bible. I'm never going to even understand what is the hype around all of this. So, like, immediately when I started reading, like, I was so impressed. I was like, wow, like, it's crazy because just reading some of these things, it's like, it feels, I always tell everybody, I feel like the Bible is like a life guide. Like, everything in there, it's like stories. It tells you what you'll do and what will happen. Like, it really does tell you everything in there. And like I remember reading from John, it has a lot of stories about, what he did for the world, and it even talks about who he is. And I think that was a really good place for me to start in the Bible because it just kind of gave me an idea of what I was getting myself into. And I will say I'm very thankful because I have shared my faith with a lot of people, and even though, some people might judge or whatever, I haven't let that affect me. And I full-heartedly do it for myself. I don't want to, build a relationship with God for somebody else, because ultimately, like I said earlier, everything I do impacts me and nobody else. But I still want to encourage the word to other people. And just today, I had a friend talking to me about how her situation at home is really hard. And she was like, it's just never going to get better until I leave. And she was like, I know it's always going to be this way. And I told her, I know it's difficult because you feel like you have nothing else to cling on to. But honestly, if you find God and you find a relationship with Him, He will heal you. And I said, and you might not believe me now, okay? I said, you might not believe me now. Because honestly, I wouldn't believe myself either if somebody told me that a couple months ago. But I told her I'm living proof that it's true, because I was in the same situation that she was, and I found myself feeling that kind of stress and anxiety that I was never going to be able to escape that place that I was in. And once I found my relationship with God, I remember like even what I had to go through at home, instead of being like so upset and frustrated and angry and just like screaming and crying, I just started, playing worship music, and I started praying, and I made that something that I want to do for my family, like encourage us all to pray like before we eat and just anytime when it's necessary. And I have to talk to people in my family, just encourage them to find that growth in God. And like even though I'm very young, I feel like what I say still has a big impact on people's hearts. And that's all I really, ask. Like I knew coming here today, like, like no matter how many people are in this room, I know that what I say can impact at least one person. And as long as it's one person, like I know that I'm doing God's work. And I'm just glad that He's using me in this way because it feels amazing. Like even today, I'm going to be honest, like, before I even got here, I told my brothers and my sister, like, I don't really know, like, how am I going to do this, because I just had, a super long day. I had an AP exam. It was, like, almost 4 hours long, just sitting there. I just feel mentally, like, exhausted. But before that, I still woke up at 5 a.m. just so I could read my Bible. And I did pray before my exam, and hopefully that helps. But it's amazing to see God working through other people, because even when I was doing the exam, I saw I literally prayed right then and there. Like I prayed, and then the guy right next to me, he prayed too. I was like, this is amazing. But yeah, so I've just been walking, very strong with this relationship with God, and I'm not gonna lie, there's been some days where it's been ups and downs. Like I think just yesterday it was feeling kind of difficult for me. Like I don't know, I think I was just going through a rush of emotions, and I was just like my faith started kind of feeling down. Like it just kind of started going down, and even I try my best to listen to a lot of Christian music. So every day I wake up listening to Christian music, and then when I'm at school, I always listen to Christian music. When I'm doing homework, I listen to Christian music, and I love it. I'm not gonna lie, I love it. I heard this quote the other day, and it basically said that the reason why Christian music feels so good is because it feeds the soul, but secular music feeds the flesh. So basically, when you listen to God's music, it feels so empowering. Like I'll go on the trampoline, I'll just be jumping and listening to the music, and it feels amazing. And I've even seen some videos, because I love going to the gym, and I see videos that talk about how listening to his music at the gym, it actually makes you feel even more motivated than listening to all these other kinds of music. And it's so true. I feel I really feel like a gym warrior when I listen to his music. I just feel so strong, and it's empowering. And I love the way it makes me feel, because I noticed that my heart for other people has become a lot more softened. Whenever I know somebody's going through something, I always pray for them, and I always try to give a word of encouragement, help them out. And whenever I meet new people, I try to show them love. I always think about the ways that other people are going through things. And even with my friend Isaac, my heart's been a little heavy, just because I've noticed that he's been going through something that's kind of caused him to change the way he treats me. And we're not really close anymore, but I still pray for him, and I still pray for all my enemies. I still pray for all the people that, might not like me, and I just pray that he would, recover them and be there for them and protect them. Every morning I do try my best to pray for people that are not even within my family, just people in the world that are going through stuff, because the world we live in, it's a crazy place, and it's just saddening to see what's going on around, and even for people at school that I know are struggling every day. It's a difficult world that we live in. I think I had one more verse in here. Oh yeah, I did. Okay, so it's Philippians 4:4-9. It says, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. Let your reasonableness be known to everyone. The Lord is at hand. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And I feel like that's a good end point right there. But this verse is very powerful, because I actually just got it the other day on my Bible app, and it was a verse a year ago from today, or in the past. I actually received it, and I remember reading this verse, and to me it's powerful, because I tend to get anxious a lot about stuff in my life, and my typical outlets is just crying, listening to sad music, and just feeling stressed and overwhelmed ultimately. And with this verse, it tells me that I don't need to carry it all on my own. And God has me right there. We were not made to carry all of this on our own. And I just feel like that is important to know, that He's there with you, and you don't need to feel anxious about anything. That'll be the end of it.